So we are live. Assalamu alaikum. Myself Nurul Huda from NICAT, and we are having our guest Mr. Hamid with us. Today we are going to have a fireside chat on building a plan to grow your business. Moving forward to our first question, please, Mr. Hamid, can you please tell us what problems to avoid during business growth and how should one grow their business?
Yeah, I think it's a very subjective question right away, but let me explain a little bit about that. So, in order to grow the business, the first thing you need to keep in mind is the scalability factor. In order to have the scalability factor, you need to have a good team, you need to have a good system, the automation setup, the hierarchy setup, the SOP setup, the blueprint setup, and all that. So a lot of agency owners, when they get to me to discuss about their issues for the scalability, they're good experts. They are perfect in their niche, they're delivering as per maybe the client requirements as well, but they get stuck during the scalability. So the number one thing that you need to keep in mind in order to scale a business or to grow a business is not to do everything yourself, but believe on creating a very robust system. And then, depending on who you are, what your background is, um, I'm from a business background. I'm from a marketing background, and then I came into IT after learning a lot of technological aspects and certifications. So for me, business and marketing is my comfort zone. Probably going into the depth of technical areas could have been my problem, but I actually overcome that. I run about like 6 to 7 businesses, and I keep them along with different integrators itself. So it also depends on what your problems are, especially for your business.
Thank you very much. Our second question is: what are the high profit margin business industries in Pakistan?
So let's take it this way, and I'm gonna make it a little bit less subjective, this question as well. And since we are talking more about, and I'm from technology side, so I will actually mold this question more towards the technology side as well. There are definitely a lot of areas where you can make money in Pakistan, but for me, what concerns is I go to the TV shows as well, and I always tell them, if you want to help Pakistan and if you want to help yourself in a good way as well, so look for the avenues to get the dollars in Pakistan and to get the dollars for your family and for yourself as well. So the number one thing that probably you need to keep in mind is uh, um, find the businesses where you can get the dollars. Now, let's move forward from this conversation. Assuming you need dollars, so then you will see that what can you do actually to bring in the export revenue in Pakistan? Is that like you can export certain items from Pakistan, maybe carpets, maybe sports items, or other XYZ industries. But then we also see that there is a lot of inflation, prices are not stable, and then because we run e-commerce stores as well for our clients, they always have problems and keeping up with the pace. uh, आज कुछ order आता है, and then tomorrow they're gonna have a change price, and they say that okay, we went into the loss. So unfortunately, the industries they have been compromised due to the inflation and political situation in Pakistan. So what is left then? What's left is the human capital itself. So the human capital means that uh, you can actually sell yourself as a person in order to make money. You can sell yourself as a person in order to make money for your country as well. The way it works is, so regardless of whether you are in information technology or not, you can actually sell yourself. How? So all you have to do is uh, ideally create a setup in abroad. There are multiple avenues. You can actually sit in Pakistan and create a company out there, or there are freelancing platforms, XYZ places where you can go and actually get the job, or maybe a freelancing, or maybe set up a company and have a bigger setup. And you can sell your accounting services. If you're an accountant, you can sell your accounting services to accounting companies in United States, in UK, in Europe, XYZ. If you are a legal experts, a law experts, you can actually learn their laws and then deliver the services to them. Similarly, if you are a freelancer in tech industry, so there are tons of avenues, like you can be a programmer, you can be a designer, you can be a content writer, you can be a digital marketer, um, and XYZ other items. And then you can also, if you are a health specialist, so you can actually use the technology to help other people over the phone, or over the Zoom, or some of those items as well. So I would suggest that whatever your industry is, look for the ways you can actually bring in the dollars, because your country needs dollars at this moment.
I agree, Mr. Hamid. But the point is, as you can see, the current scenarios of Pakistan, our overseas Pakistanis are very, reluctant to send money to Pakistan or to invest in Pakistan because of the current scenarios. You can take example from real estate sector. You can take example from other sectors as well. What's your point of view regarding that? How we can have a good image, or we can do something for our country to bring some dollars from outside the Pakistan?
Absolutely. So there are a few things which are controllable, and there are a few things which are not controllable. I'll speak about both the sectors, because I sit with high tables as well. I sit with even the most common freelancer as well, so I can see from both the perspectives what is possible and what is not possible. Uh, let's talk about the high tables first. When I say high tables, so the top players who are actually making the changes into the economy. From government point of view, if you want the foreigners, let's say Pakistan is sitting abroad, to send the money back to Pakistan. Uh, just remember one thing. I think we have a question, but we'll answer you, Bilal. Just remember one thing, and that is, whoever the most difficult thing in the world is to get the money from someone's pocket. Why would someone give you money? Why would someone give you money? You have to think about it. They pay you money because they trust you. So, in order for those foreigners, or those Pakistanis who are living abroad, because I live abroad as well, right? And if I have to invest someone, the number one thing which I would see is the stability itself in that company, the reviews of that company, the trust I need to have to make sure that my investment is not drawn away, or my investment is not lost during the political issues. So I'm talking about from the bigger perspective right now, that we need to gain the trust of those Pakistanis who are sitting abroad to get the money back to Pakistan, right? So we need to give them assurance, and assurance will be given when we have the peace. So my request to the top players, if they're listening to this, is that please have peace in Pakistan, sit on the table. I understand we have problems. I understand we have 20, 30% differences, but sit for the 80% common grounds, which is, and the biggest common ground is the prosperity of Pakistan itself. So the top players need to work on that. Top players need to have that in the priority in their mind, that they need to create that stability. They need to make sure कि वो पाकिस्तान के अंदर एक ऐसा environment create करते हैं कि जिससे the the foreigners, they have a trust to send the money to Pakistan. So that's number one. Number two, from the agency's point of view, and from a resources point of view, sometimes I say that why do we always so sometimes I say that why do we always have to rely on the top players to rescue you? So what you can do is, you can eventually and essentially create your own ecosystem of delivering the service, making sure that you have a good brand, you have a good name, and create a series of good case studies, and then bring on the revenue for Pakistan. And if not on the larger scale, then you can actually bring on the revenue on smaller scale, from company to company and freelancer to freelancer. So what you can do is, if everybody thinks that, okay, I'm being responsible Pakistani, and I want to make sure that whoever does business with me, I find the right ethical grounds to deliver the services, have the right expertise, and their investment will not be lost. And I do my best to actually make the best use of their investment. So I will definitely, so we can definitely bring on more revenues in Pakistan as well. So, for example, our company has set up in United States. So, regardless of any political situations in Pakistan, it does affect, but doesn't affect completely. So, we go over there, we do the business development, and then we assure them that we'll deliver you services. We have a case study of our organization, and then the people actually do refer the business to us as well. So what I would suggest is that we need to make sure that our companies, our agencies, or our businesses, they are rendering the top quality services, and the best that the other people are looking for sitting in abroad. And if you see our neighboring countries, so for example, in India and Philippines and in other countries which are the hubs um, for outsourcing, they always have they always have good infrastructures. And I mean, they have done a lot of homework what we should have done maybe 20 years back. So I guess it's the time that when we should actually jump to start getting the revenues in Pakistan as well. We recently had a master class where we invited about where we invited about 400 plus entrepreneurs, and those entrepreneurs actually helped us out in assuring that okay, we'll change the mindset from being individual solo freelancers to making larger companies. So this is what I would suggest, that we need to shift a mindset of making some really good companies in-house in Pakistan as well. Um,
I totally agree. इसी सवाल को हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं. In the context of startups who are about to start a business, as you know that current scenarios of Pakistan are not that much favorable. What you suggest, how they can build a business, how they can establish it in the current scenarios, plus how they can flourish.
and when you say the business, so I just want to make sure that I don't take the conversation towards. You can actually be in the picture. So I just want to make sure, okay, I don't take the conversation more towards the IT. So when you talk about business, so are you talking about like overall businesses, or you talking about the IT especially?
In the perspective of let's say we are having startups of mainly aerospace industry, or we are having some startups in health tech, deep tech. In that context, how they can have a good business in Islam in Pakistan, and how they can have a well established growing business that will give them revenue throughout their life.
Absolutely. So I'll take the conversation a little more towards again internationalization, because this is what my preference is for all the Pakistanis who are doing the business. So number one thing is to keep in mind that whatever the business you do, even if you have like millions and billions of transactions going on in Pakistan, it's not going to help you a lot. What's going to help you is bringing the money from abroad. Now, a lot of people would say that okay, आजकल के हालात ठीक नहीं हैं, and then a lot of people would say कि recession चल रहा है. A lot of people will say कि political stability है, but sometimes I find this as an excuse as well. The reason I find this as an excuse is they actually mitigate their efforts of doing the due diligence of bringing on the right people, right audiences, right marketing, and scalability itself. So if I give you overview of what needs to be done, so you can actually, whoever is listening this conversation, he or she can actually start listing down um, the things which are required to have a very successful business, even in Pakistan, even in this political instability as well, even with less resources as well, you can actually scale your business to a very good level. The number one thing is you need to find yourself first, that who you are and what kind of industry you're willing to go. And if you have identified that, let's say you're into the aerospace, or you are into the healthcare, or you are into the IT, then over in those areas or industries as well, you have to find out that what exactly is the problem you're going to solve for them, because you get paid more when you solve someone's problem. So you have, and that is called the niche in a business. So you have to find a niche which is hot, which is what people are looking for. People are looking for solution. There are a lot of people maybe looking for the solution or the services, and ready to pay as well. So you have to find, number one, those areas. Maybe ask your friends around. Maybe see what's going on into the news. Maybe see what's going on in the social media. Maybe ask ChatGPT about that, or maybe use the AI tool. So after you have selected the right business for yourself, or maybe right niche for yourself, the second thing is you need to have very, very good marketing skills, very, very good sales skills. I'm actually writing a book, and I completed a chapter on marketing and sales, and that took actually 65 pages, literally. So I've been writing the book, and almost 100 pages since a couple of days. 65 pages were totally on the sale. And then if you don't put on those right practices of the sales, and then you say कि inflation है, हालात ठीक नहीं है, it's actually not inflation or halat, it's actually we are not following up the right practices. That's number two, that you need to have a very, very good lead generation and marketing skills. And if you want to learn that, we have our community called Seven Figure Agency Mindset by Hamid Mahmood on the Facebook. We have over 5,000 entrepreneurs out there. If you have any question about sales, lead generation, or you want to grow your setup bigger, you can actually post over there. It's free of cost. It's a public community. Number two. Number three is you need to have a strong team, strong scalable process. And I would cut it short that you need to have the right roles, and assign the right people, and assign the right numbers to achieve, and create attraction with weekly, monthly, and yearly trainings as well. Oh, I'm sorry, the meetings as well. Then, with the help of the data, so for example, if by spending $500 you get a project of $3,000, you need to make sure that how much money you are spending to get the sale. And once you have identified that, use the data to actually scale your business. So if I'm able to achieve, let's say for my business, if I'm spending $500, I'm getting a project for $2,000, I would probably get the seed or investment from someone, or if I have my own money, I will scale it down to an X number. And then at the same time, I will scale my team to a Y number in order to take my company to 7 figures or 8 figures or multiple 7 figures as well, right? And then you have to make sure that you're not just a single solo freelancer whose identity is not found. Someone has to actually go deep into the LinkedIn, or deep into the freelancing profiles, or deep into any online media to find you. You should have a very strong online presence. You should be available everywhere. Your services should be transparent. Your prices should be transparent. Your availability should be transparent. Your values should be transparent. Your track record should be transparent, and your case study has to be transparent as well. At the same time, when after spending a couple of years like this, go out, look for the social circles, look for the networking, look for the partnerships, look for the collaborations, and keep on learning, keep on adopting new things, and making sure that you are not staying in behind of whatever is going on in the market. Even if you're sitting in Pakistan, then you still have to make sure that you are actually delivering the work with the standards which is being done in the United States or Europe or in any other one world country. Yeah.
Totally agree. The next question is building fast growing business versus building slow growth institution. What would you prefer?
I think before I answer this, can you actually say in the picture, because I can relate my conversation with you if possible. So the answer to this is that uh, आपकी पेस तेज हो या हल्की हो, इससे मुझे इख्तिलाफ नहीं है, but the pace has to be with ethical values. So I actually had a conversation with a very an entrepreneur of almost 300 plus seats in Pakistan, making like multiple $1 million in Pakistan. And he told me that someone else actually got the business 3 times his business, very quicker, not ethical values. I think we should prefer that. No. So यहाँ से मेरा इख्तिलाफ है. I disagree with this, that you should always follow the right ethical values. Now, after you're making sure कि झूठ नहीं है, धोखा नहीं दे रहे, या कोई scam नहीं है, कोई fraud नहीं है, you're following the right practices, legal frameworks, legal practices, the right values. uh, जब आपने इसको अटेन कर लिया, तो इससे पहले जो मैंने अभी आपको बताया है, once you find a formula कि you're spending this money to get that money, you're spending this money to get that money. Once you find that, you all you have to do is to wait and find that particular area in your business. Once you find that, the next is you have two options. Number one option is that you can utilize your own money to scale the business. This way, you have more control. You are your own boss. You're not answering to anyone, and you can have a slow growth, but maybe organic one. But no, if you're asking that now, I need a big jump at this stage. I know the formula. I can rock and roll. I can go into the $1 million or multiple $1 million. Then at that stage, you probably need a seed investment from someone, and you can actually take the investment, let's say $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, maybe $1 million investment, to actually get the seed and convince them that you have a business model that works. And if by spending $500,000 you can actually get the X number of investment after X months, and you'll have maybe their investment back in the form of equity in XYZ areas as well. And this way you can have a fast pace growth in that as well. The number three thing is by collaborating. You find the people who are looking for work, you find the people who are ready to deliver, and be the middle person. So regardless, it's slow pace or fast pace, you have to make sure it's controlled, it's by numbers, and you're making sure that you're adopting the right ethical values.
Okay, next question is, how does sustainable factor into a growth plan, and what are some ways businesses can incorporate environmentally and socially responsible practices into their operations?
Absolutely. So आई थिंक एनवायरनमेंट को तो हमें बहुत ज़्यादा देखना चाहिए, और हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी भी है. पर उससे ज़्यादा जो द एनवायरनमेंट which gets rotten is by the wrong ethical values. So the biggest social responsibility to us is the businesses. So we have a slogan. It's called कारोबार जाता है तो जाए झूठ नहीं बोलेंगे. So wherever I go, I confess myself and my audience, whether चाहे वो 500 की है, 1000 की है, जितनी भी है, we get it confessed by other people as well कि कारोबार जाता है तो जाए हम झूठ नहीं बोलेंगे. Will always be on ethical ground. So the social responsibility is that if we don't follow the right ethical values, if we don't follow the right leadership style, we have a state culture where we don't consider other person as a human, uh, and then be the bossy structure that there is a smell going on of your high attitude. Nobody can actually do salam with you, and nobody's actually ready to, he's completely afraid of your behavior. So I guess more than the environmental part in Pakistan, the first thing that we need to do is to follow the practices of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then his companions, Sahaba radhiyallahu anhum ajma'in, and see how they conducted the business, how the whole world actually followed them, and why did the whole world follow them of doing the right practices and businesses, and what they have gotten that we forgotten, and what we are not following as well. So the number one thing we need to make sure is to take the inspiration from our elders, and then replicate those practices into our business socially. Be a good gesture, be a good leader, be charismatic, be transparent, keep others uh, on top before yourself, and always speak truth. And yes, and then at the same time, when you have started making some money, or whenever like you get the money in terms of revenues, you can actually keep a small chunks and go for the environmental safety as well, and spend on the money. Couple of our ventures, one is the Ethical Pro, and we are doing a lot of community work as well. Ethical Pro goes completely to the donation, and then the seven-figure agency community, majority of the money after we pay the fee actually goes to the donations. So we think that we are socially responsible for that, and we need to make sure कि जितना भी हमारी power और influence के अंदर है, हम अपनी society को, अपने घर वालों को और अपनी family को support करें.
So true. How can a business adopt their growth plans to change market conditions and emerging trends along with market competitions?
Absolutely. So the number one thing that you need to keep in mind is उठना बैठना जो है अपना वो keep that with the best industry people. So there are two ways. Number one thing is okay, you start working with companies who are actually the best in the race. So if you talk about the IT industry, we work with technology companies who are delivering the work uh, to the best of the best, right? So either we become their partners and understand their whatever is going on in the world, and then we take that to the Pakistan, and then we tell the community, okay, this is what's happening. That's number one. Number two is apna utna baidna rakhein with those people. That means going to the conferences, going to the events, and understand whatever is happening. अपने आप को न्यूज़लेटर सब्सक्रिप्शन लगा के रखें towards probably the larger technology portals, the larger news site. I always have my email pumped up over there because time नहीं होता, but I get the emails of whatever is going on in the world in terms of technology or politics and everything in order to keep up with the race. And then once you are into the niche, when I say अगर आप ब्रॉडर नीश में चले जाते हैं, ब्रॉडर बिजनेस में चले जाते हैं, तो आप फिर उसकी किसी भी बिजनेस की डेप्थ में नहीं जा सकते. लेकिन अगर आप नीश के अंदर चले जाते हैं, तो इट गिव्स यू अ वैल्यू कि आपका that you actually go into the depth, and when you go into the depth, you actually explore all the factors and all the innovation into that particular industry. So this is how you can actually cope up with whatever is going on into the world and then apply the same to the Pakistani market as well.
Absolutely. How can businesses effectively manage and mitigate risk associated with growth while pursuing ambitious goals?
Yes. So basically, projection is very important, and I always tell my friends that whatever I am telling you guys, whatever the consultation I provide you, is because of the failures. And one of the few failures I had is because of the wrong projection or no projection at all. I remember that I was traveling to United States into the multiple cities. Uh, and then to the rest of the world. And I actually forgot about checking my books and the projections, and that actually put me up into a bad situation. When I say the bad situation, because I didn't work on the data. So it is imperative for you to always see whatever is going on in your organization from numbers point of view, from data point of view. अपनी कॉस्ट को हमेशा देख के रखें. How much you're spending for employees, how much you're spending to the vendors, to the direct delivery. I call it direct production cost. And then how much you have a facility cost, how much you have a marketing cost, how much you have a management cost, how much you have legal costs associated, how much you have XYZ overheads. And then segregate them into a different levels, and then find a target that you want to achieve, let's say 25% of the net profits or 30% of the net profits, and then work on this every month. So your 5 years goals should be replicated to 3 years goal, and then your 3 years goal should be translated to 1 year goal, and then towards the quarters, and then towards the months, and towards the weeks, and towards the day as well. तो जो आप डेली काम कर रहे होंगे वो एक्चुअली ऊपर जा रहा है, वो आपके 5 साल प्लान को मीट अप करने की कोशिश कर रहा है. सो एंड दैट इज ओनली पॉसिबल व्हेन आपने ऊपर एक नंबर दिया हुआ है और नीचे जो है आपकी जो और ऊपर जो नंबर है उसमें आपने प्रोजेक्शंस रखी हुई है, उसमें आपने फोरकास्ट रखे हैं, और जो नीचे है you are actually making sure that your daily targets or weekly targets or monthly targets are aligning with that 5 years goal. And if there is a projection which is not going right, maybe because of the political situation or XYZ, then you have to sit with your BODs or whoever your stakeholders are again to talk about it and see क्या plan B क्या हो सकता है.
एग्जैक्टली इसी से एक और क्वेश्चन हमें हमारी वन ऑफ द स्टार्टअप इज आस्किंग दैट हाउ वी कैन मिटिगेट रिस्क्स एसोसिएटेड विद द ग्रोथ.
Sorry, say that again. I was just reading the comments.
Okay, okay. One of our startups is asking from us that how we can mitigate the risks that are associated with the growth. Let's say if we are having a growth plan and we are moving to expand the business, what are the common risks that can come into the line of the growth and how we can mitigate it?
Absolutely. I think the biggest mistake we do is we jump onto too many things. So, if I've listed about 12 ways of growth or growing your business, you should not follow all the 12 ways aggressively. You should probably see one or two avenues, and as I told you, uska formula nikalein, take out that formula and then work on that. You should definitely not get defocused with whatever the rest of the world is doing once you find a formula the right fit for your business. So the number one thing is your focus itself, which could be risky for your company's business as well, right? The next thing is you have to keep the backups of your good resources. uh, have minimum two channels for the growth of your companies, and then whoever is operating have backups for every person you have. So for example, if there is a marketing head or marketing lead or CMO, there should be a backup who's actually ready to take up if the CMO goes, and then maybe a marketing manager, and then probably an expert, and then probably a business development guy who's rock and rolling. Just make sure you always have the backups for every other resources that you have. And then आपने अगर ग्रोथ को मेक श्योर करना है कि वो सस्टेनेबल हो, एंड दैट इज एक्चुअली पॉसिबल विद द नंबर्स. एंड समटाइम्स वी पुट इट ऑन रिस्क बिकॉज we have nepotism in our organization as well, that if your friend or maybe a family member is not performing, will be like, okay, he'll be fine, and then you have a friendship gesture with those guys as well. Can you close the door? So with the friendship element over there as well, you have to make sure that whatever has been concluded in that 5 years or 10 years plan, replicate it to 3 years or 1 year or quarter and month and week and daily. It's not missed. It's not missed because the person who is taking up is your friend or maybe a family member or maybe a brother or sister or maybe your spouse. No, you have to make sure that they are not being compromised, because if you start compromising on those factors, your growth can be at a risk. And then the biggest risk is not calculating itself, is because you want to grow, you kept 20 cold calling agents, and their target was to generate probably X number of leads or meetings in a month. But you forgot the factor that it's not the leads that the company is looking for, it's the revenue. So whoever is in your sales team or growth team, give them numbers, and numbers based on return on ad spent. So if you're spending, let's say, $300, you should have a minimum of $1,000 in return, or maybe $1,200 in return. I mostly say that your marketing cost should not exceed 20%. Ideally, should be 15%. So you should go with the numbers. And at some point that you see that these numbers are not matchable and they're not working, change the plan, update the plan, discuss with experts, and see what's going on.
I totally agree. Quality over quantity. Our next question is, how can businesses effectively manage their cash flows during the periods of rapid growth? And what strategies can be implemented to ensure financial stability?
The number one thing is that because we have small companies over here in Pakistan, especially, so whenever we get the profits, we take all the profits away और अपनी अच्छी सी गाड़ी ले लेंगे, and then we'll have a good house. We'll go abroad and burn all the money over there. So we need to understand. I used to do that mistake as well. We call it a mistake or maybe a mindset that हमारे पाकिस्तान में we think that the needs are like having a very luxurious car, big home, traveling abroad, and XYZ. We follow these ambitions when we are into the university as well. The right practice is, in order for you to not burn out your money, is treat the business money as the business money. uh, and when you get the profits, you may have a very concrete frequency of withdrawing the money, or maybe a salary or the money. I don't take salary. I take like money with the frequencies from my firms, or I would rather keep it over there. Because just remember one thing, that whenever you want to go abroad, let's say in United States or in UK or whatever the one world countries are, the biggest thing that they see is the value of your company itself. And the value of your company is being determined by the monthly cash flows and the money which was there at the end of the year and the returns that you filed. So, in order to have good perks for your company, you need to make sure that you have a healthy revenues on the back end. And in order to have healthy revenues in the back end, do not withdraw all the money. You set a metrics, and then if you have money on the back end, do not think that you're so rich and start throwing the money. Okay, मैं अब health care की भी policies ले आता हूँ, मैं अब सबको गाड़ियाँ भी दे दूंगा, and then you're like the king. No. So पैसे आते हुए अगर आपको पता नहीं लगा, तो जाते हुए बिल्कुल पता नहीं लगेगा. Just make sure that you are actually very calculated. आपने सोचा हुआ है that where are you going to spend this money. And our dean also says कि जितनी चादर है उतने पाँव फैलाओ, and israf से मना किया गया है. So even if you have money or you are into the multi-million dollar, do not do israf.
Thank you very much. We are having some questions. We would take it at the end. Before that, we have another question. This is in the tenure of social media, and everybody in every business is has a very huge presence on social media. How social media can influence the businesses in their growth?
I studied from Harvard Business School back in 2020. और उस पूरी स्टडीज़ का, और मैंने डिजिटल मार्केटिंग स्ट्रेटजी वहाँ पे पढ़ी, और उस पूरी स्टडी का जो एक लब्बे लबाब था वो ये है, that is to create or to build the audience. The bigger audience you have, uh, the more money it is for you. And I've personally seen that there are a couple of ways to actually build your audience. Number one is, if you are an authority and you go do public speaking, so you'll have a lot of audience who actually know you or probably admire you or your business, because you're an expert and you're giving solution for us maybe a community problem. And then the number two thing is the online communities itself. I'm not saying online pages, but I'm saying that online communities itself. And our instructor, I remember, she emphasized this, and at that time, I was not taking that part, which I realized later, that the power of community and audience is the best, and that is best possible through social media. So I told you that we have about 5,000 plus entrepreneurs in our community, and these guys know that एक दफ़ा उनको बताया जाता है कि यार maybe next month or after 15 days. And sometimes I do like, hey, tomorrow I'll be in Islamabad. Let's catch up. I just send one thing, and then we have a decent sized meetup the next day. The power of community, the power of social media. Everybody's out there. Everybody's reading the messages, reading the comments, reading the posts. So I think it's a blood now for your organization to stay in touch with those social media channels. Maybe not all the channels. Look for it. Look for the channels which goes best. I personally like Facebook more. from a community point of view, because I feel that that's where the people waste more most of the time. So I try to make it productive for them, and I see कि वो वहाँ पे आते हैं, and they communicate, they do the comments more than maybe even LinkedIn communities as well. TikTok पे भी इतना कोई communities का सीन नहीं होता, WhatsApp पे भी लोग तंग हो जाते हैं. So I personally feel कि social media और फिर communities और फिर उसके अंदर Facebook is one of the best platform where you can actually engage with a lot of people.
I totally agree. How can businesses strike a balance between profitability and competitiveness?
इसको थोड़ा सा explain करें, make it easier for your viewers. What exactly you want to ask?
For example, we are everyone in the business is having some competitive edge over other, and they are similarly having the plan to grow further. What are the main strategies to keep a balance with while having competition with others and having a plan to grow their business?
आपने प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी का क्वेश्चन बीच में किया था, इसलिए आई एम अ लिटिल कंफ्यूज्ड कि कंपटीशन का प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी से कैसे आप रिलेट कर रही हैं. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you please repeat the question?
जी, मैं अर्ज़ कर रहा हूँ कि आपने प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी को कंपटीशन से थोड़ा सा मैप किया हुआ था, तो उसको मुझे बताएं कि व्हाट एग्जैक्टली यू हैव इन माइंड ऑफ मैपिंग आउट द प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी विद कंपटीशन.
When developing a pricing strategy, business supporting a business growth, you are having some instinct to have profitability and competitiveness.
बिल्कुल, नाउ आई गेट इट. सो इसकी एग्जांपल्स दो साइड से हो सकती हैं बेसिकली. One is towards the product side and one is towards the service side as well. And then there are some generic maths which are given by rule of thumb कि आपका प्रॉफिट इतना होना चाहिए और आपका मिनिमम प्रॉफिट इतना होना चाहिए. एक बात याद रखिएगा, remember one thing. A lot of people actually come back to me, and the kind of industry where I'm in, uh, we probably sell the website from $500 to $50,000, and the end result you would actually find would probably the same. And you'll be surprised that companies in New York, we have a company out there as well, we stay in the middle. uh, इतनी बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी है, $50,000 की वेबसाइट, and then there are companies sitting in India or Pakistan or maybe freelancer who can deliver the same site for $500 as well. Why? What? All those things. The answer to this is that the kind of value you provide, you can charge more higher to the people. You can have more higher revenues and profits. If you're providing something which is invaluable, which is unmatchable, then you can charge higher. For example, if a company in United States in New York is charging $50,000, why can't a person sitting in Pakistan charge that? It's because he doesn't have a setup there. I have an office there. I pay about like $4,000, $5,000 a month rent over there. Each employee is $4,000 to $5,000 a month salary minimum. They have workers compensation. There are taxes out there, tons of other things, um, expensive living over there. Apartments you're gonna start getting from $5,000 to $7,000 a month. Um, Everything is so expensive. So if you have a setup out there in the United States, let's say, and you're charging maybe $25,000 for a website, that's fine because you're in New York. But for the same website, and you're giving a value, and if the customer wants to go over there in their office, they can actually go over there and see what's going on. They can see the facility, and they can rest assured that, okay, they're providing the value as they're the local providers, and they have the local people who are actually working over there, who understand their norms and culture, and ensuring the quality as well. But at the same time, if a same person who is actually sitting in Pakistan or India or Philippines and delivering the service, they actually may not know the norms or culture or the kind of quality they look for, unless like they have a huge experience working with Americans, or maybe in one world countries. Uh, so, or unless they build a brand. So now let's talk about the numbers now. If you want to charge higher, if you want to sustain into the competition, you have to see that who you are competing to. That's number one thing. Are you competing with the biggest company in New York? Because I try to. And then, so the number one thing is you have to replicate their strategies, and we have to replicate and see where they are, what they do, and where they are proposing things, where they're displaying their stalls and everything. So we go over there as well, probably, and then try to compete with them. Or if I'm competing with companies in India, who are probably charging $15 an hour or $10 an hour, then I'll have a probably different strategy. I can have maybe hundreds and thousands of resources on my back end and sasta bechna shuru kar दूं. And then if I'm competing with resources in Philippines, then probably वो $5 $7 or maybe $4 पे I can have hundreds of resources जो कि उसके ऊपर onboard हो जाएं और मैं उनको बेचना शुरू कर दूं. uh, I have to see who is my competition and why is my competition, and kind of business model which I have. And once I determine that, and once I see that my setup and another Indian company or Filipino company have the same setup and I'm charging higher, that doesn't make sense. And trust me, unless or until you have a unique selling proposition, you would always struggle. And this is what I've seen as well, that a lot of Pakistani companies, they would actually try to oversell, over cost or overprice their services, just because, okay, somebody else is pricing those services as well. You don't even know that why they're pricing higher, because they're sitting in the United States and you're not sitting in the United States. So you have to make sure that, and you have to understand who's your competitor. And then the simple rule is that the cost of production or the cost of developer, which could be a vendor, which could be your in-house cost, let's say that's $5 an hour. So the minimum you can sell, and you should sell in $15 an hour, because then you have a marketing cost, then you have a project management cost, then you have overheads, then you have profits between the partners, and then XYZ other costs as well. And probably you're going to take up आपके $10 या $12 आपकी cost आ जाएगी, या $11 आपकी cost आ जाएगी, and then $4 you can actually save that as a profit between the two partners. Or maybe अगर दो partners हैं और $4 आपको एक hour से बचा है, then $2 you guys can actually share that. ये आपको minimum बता रहा हूँ. You can actually sell the same in 25 or maybe 35, but there has to be a reasoning for that.
Thank you so much. Moving forward to the questions of some from audience.
So Sadaf has a question. How can we balance the needs of our clients with the needs of our business? Like, what ways can we use to ensure them that we are providing value to both? So, number one thing, Sadaf, you need to keep in mind that you know your audience, and your audience know you as a as a potential, maybe a contractor as well, because you cannot adjust your business model for every other customer. You need to make sure, you need to keep in mind. So after listening to probably 80-90% of the audience, अपना एक business model जो है, you're gonna devise that and then follow on that. Uh, Make sure that now the next time you are doing the marketing is between that audience, because you have a business model that actually fit that 80% audience. And then if there is 20% audience which is also who also wants to do business with you, I would suggest do not be flexible in that part. Tell them your terms. Tell them that, okay, for example, you're doing business in United States, you have a setup in EST time zone, and you have customers coming in from 5 p.m. Pakistan time to 2 a.m. Pakistan time. At the same time, like you have 80-90% audience out there, and they expect fast responses, they expect the time zone out there, they expect the quality delivery. They do not like to talk a lot but do the business. So that's I'm talking about Americans. At the same time, you start doing business, you get an inquiry from UAE, and they say, hey, I want to set up a website, but I want you to work in my time zone. So probably you have to tell them, unfortunately, we cannot deliver the services in your time zone because our company's time starts at this time. And they try to mold you up with their hourly rates. They try to mold you, okay, I want to have a physical meeting with you because this is what we are comfortable in. We are not comfortable in those online setups. No. Probably you may have to politely decline or present them a list of terms that you have कि ये यहाँ से हम काम करते हैं. If you agree with this, these are my expectations. You're more than welcome to work with us. And if you think that you're not agreed to these terms, you probably have to find a vendor within your local area and deliver those services. So this is how you can actually adjust. और जिनके लिए फिर आप काम कर रहे हैं, let's say for United States, then you have to start customizing your offerings and services to match as much as possible by listening their feedbacks, by working with them, by enhancing the process improvements into the pricing, into the quality, into the delivery with the project management systems and everything you can do to actually make the experience better.
We have another question from Mr. Bilal. What is the most effective content strategy for service providing startups? Should the focus be on short form video content and or to educate viewers or general posts?
Bilal, you have to probably type again. My question is that you mentioned about service providing startups, and I'm assuming that you are into the IT industry. Do you think that your audience is there into the social media and they would see your post or the video content? Because that's actually where you probably is doing that just to be an authority. So what are your final aims to achieve this? And meanwhile, we can take another question.
We have another question from him. What types of content resonate best with target audience and can help a startup build a strong community?
मैं आपको ये बता देता हूँ. Again, you have to first of all find who your audience is. I give you an example. You probably have seen, Bilal, that I work a lot with entrepreneurs, and you probably have seen me less. You probably have seen me less with the freelancers or people who are actually getting the skills right now. और यू कैन से जो एंट्री लेवल के बच्चे होते हैं उनके पास मैं जाता हूँ, यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में भी जाता हूँ, लेकिन आपने मुझे उनके पास कम देखा होगा. उसकी वजह ये है कि जो काइंड ऑफ बातें मैं करता हूँ वो मेच्योर लोगों को समझ आएंगी. वो प्रॉबली जो सी लेवल पे जा चुके हुए हैं या उनको 2-4 साल 5 साल हो चुके हुए हैं काम करते हुए, या एंटरप्रेन्योर्स बन चुके हुए हैं या बनना चाहते हैं या मेच्योरिटी की एज में हैं. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपने ये मेक श्योर करना है, अगर आपने कम्युनिटी बनानी है, कि आपकी कम्युनिटी, आपकी ऑडियंस है कौन. अच्छा, एंड देन यू आल्सो हैव टू सी कि वो जो ऑडियंस है आपकी, उसकी नीड्स क्या हैं. एंड देन यू आल्सो हैव टू सी कि वो नीड्स आपकी ऑडियंस की वो किसी और ने फुलफिल की हुई हैं. क्या ऐसे तो नहीं कि 20 और लोग कर रहे हैं एंड यू जस्ट अनदर person who's trying to be into that making a community. I would suggest कि अगर आप कम्युनिटी बनाना चाहते हैं तो आप उनको कि बहुत बड़ा मसला हल कर दें और उसके ऊपर कम्युनिटी बना लें. आप आई थिंक कि आपके सामने मेरी कम्युनिटी की एग्जांपल है. मैंने वैसे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स की इतनी ज़्यादा कम्युनिटी नहीं देखी जितनी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह हमारी हैं, और उसमें सारे मेच्योर पीपल है, एंड आई गेट लॉट ऑफ कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स के it has a very इसका कंटेंट बहुत पावरफुल होता है, बहुत सारे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को हेल्प आउट कर रहा होता है. एंड द रीजन बीइंग इज दैट we actually found that this was a missing gap in Pakistan, that at this stage we understood कि यार freelancing कैसे करनी है, we understood कि यार marketing कैसे करनी है, we understood कि यार हमने development कैसे करनी है, programming कैसे करनी है, e-commerce कैसे करनी है. ये चीज़ें तो हमें समझ आ गई, लेकिन हमें ये समझ नहीं आई कि business कैसे करना है. एंड आई एम ग्लैड कि मुझे इस वेबिनार पे इनवाइट किया है. हमें ये नहीं पता था कि यार हमने बेचना कैसे है, हमें ये नहीं पता था कि हमने उसको इंटरनेशनलाइज कैसे करना है, हमें ये नहीं पता था कि यार हमने पूरी दुनिया की जो रेस है उसके मुताबिक हमने चलना कैसे है. सो ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स आर एक्चुअली the key things for you to take inspiration. And if you want to create a powerful community, then you have to be number one expert yourself, be an authority, solve their biggest need, and then I would suggest have your own website, put the blogs out there. LinkedIn पे जाएं, LinkedIn पे अपने blogs डालें, written content जो होता है, written content as much as possible डालें, make small reels. अगर आपके पास पैसे हैं तो उसको थोड़ा बहुत एनिमेट करवा दें, या उसको अपने एक बंदा हायर करके यू कैन एक्चुअली उसकी कैप्शंस वगैरह लगवा दें. उससे बहुत ज़्यादा अट्रैक्शन मिलती है. बट अगेन जेनेरिक नहीं जाना कि मार्केटिंग कैसे करते हैं, थोड़ा सा नैरो करें, थोड़ा सा अपनी नीश को देखें. सारी डिस्कशन हम कर चुके हैं. एंड देन आपने उसको नैरो करते करते द बेस्ट ट्रैक्शन विच आई फाइंड इज द लॉन्गर कंटेंट. बहुत लंबा कंटेंट जब आप लिखेंगे और किसी नीड, उस कंटेंट में किसी नीड को आप हल कर रहे हैं, you'll actually find the traction there. People will take you as an authority. Reels, in 90 seconds you're solving someone's problem, and you're not actually in I will be a famous guy, people will be looking at me, and people will be like, who is this guy? No, just focus on the solution. Just focus on solving someone's need. And then once you have that in mind, and you make a reel, probably write a content, and then probably throw a one-liner question or poll, then you will see you will start gaining traction and traction and traction. And somewhere back the line, because you talk about community, and community is something जो कि community doesn't like लालची people. So अगर उसके अंदर लालच का element आया तो people will be like, यार ये तो मंजन बेच रहा है and all that stuff, you know. So you have to make sure कि इसको ना प्योरिटी थोड़ी सी रहने दें उसके अंदर. जो अपनी सेलिंग एलिमेंट्स हैं उसको ज़रा थोड़ा सा किसी और तरीके से करें, या स्मार्टली उसको साइड पे करें, मे बी इनडायरेक्टली सेल करें. कम्युनिटी अगर आपने बनानी है तो देन keep it for a community, and then help them. So this is how you can actually make a very strong community.
We have one last question from Asma. How inflation is affecting business owners, and in high inflation, one should start the business or not?
I think this was the very first answer which I provided, that if you're earning in rupees, then it's going to be a problem for you to have this such sort of inflation, because you will not be able to cope up with the expenses. Dollar is raising, the fuel prices are raising. So the first thing which I mentioned, you should start looking at the businesses or the avenues where you can actually make money in dollars. And if you're able to make money in dollars, तो फिर आपको ये जो फ्यूल प्राइसेस हैं, या आपके छोटे मोटे नहीं, काफ़ी बड़े हो चुके हैं जो खर्चे हैं, वो आपको कम दुखेंगे. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि नहीं दुखेंगे, कम दुखेंगे. So the only suggestion for you is that yes, आज भी बिजनेस कर सकते हैं. The best way is human capital. Sell yourself, buy the services. बहुत ज़्यादा तजर्बे ना करें, जिसके अंदर आप एक्सपर्ट हैं उसको सेल करके get the money from abroad.
We have one comment over here. By this, we are officially going to end the discussion of today's Fireside Chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Hamid Mahmood. It's a pleasure for us.
Thank you, appreciate it, and I really appreciate your initiative of bringing on board and helping a lot of community members.
My pleasure.
All
Take
right.
care.
Have a good one. Take care. Bye.
Happens.